Last Monday morning, my 35-year-old daughter Amanda called me at 7 a.m. to inform me that she had already contacted 3 nursing homes in the area and scheduled tour for this week, because she had decided that I was too old to continue living alone in my house and needed to be placed in professional care immediately so she could sell my property and use the proceeds to pay for my long-term care expenses. What Amanda didn't know as she delivered her ultimatum about my supposed inability to care for myself at 68 years old was that I had secretly revised my entire estate plan 6 months earlier to leave my house, my investments, and all my assets to various charitable organizations after discovering her detailed plans to inherit my wealth and use it to fund her lavish lifestyle and pay off the massive debts she had accumulated through years of irresponsible spending and failed business ventures. I'm William Thompson. I'm 68 years old, and this is the story of how my greedy daughters attempt to force me into a nursing home so she could get her hands on my money led to the most shocking inheritance revelation that will leave her with absolutely nothing while ensuring that my life's work benefits people who actually deserve help and support. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments. The roots of this family crisis began 2 years ago when my beloved wife, Martha, passed away from complications related to diabetes after a 38-year marriage that had been filled with love, partnership, and shared commitment to building a secure financial future through hard work, careful saving, and smart investment decisions that had resulted in substantial assets including our paid-off home, diversified investment portfolios, and business interests that provided steady income during our retirement years. Martha and I had raised 3 children together. Amanda, who is 35 and works sporadically in various sales positions while constantly struggling with debt and financial instability. Robert, who is 32 and has built a successful career as an accountant while maintaining responsible financial habits and a stable family life. And Susan, who is 29 and works as a nurse while pursuing advanced education and demonstrating the same values of hard work and responsibility that Martha and I had tried to instill in all our children. During Martha's illness and the months leading up to her death, our children showed varying levels of support and concern, with Robert and Susan providing genuine emotional comfort and practical assistance, while Amanda's visits seemed increasingly focused on discussing our financial assets and making suggestions about estate planning and wealth preservation that revealed her primary interest in inheritance prospects rather than her mother's well-being. Martha's funeral was attended by hundreds of friends, family members, and community associates who remembered her as a generous, caring woman who had volunteered extensively with local charities and had always been willing to help neighbors and friends during difficult times. While our children appeared appropriately grieved, though I noticed Amanda's conversations with relatives often included questions about my financial situation and my plans for managing our assets as a widower. The reading of Martha's will reveal that she had left modest personal bequests to each of our children, along with sentimental items and family heirlooms, while the majority of her assets transferred to me as her surviving spouse, with clear instructions that I should use our combined wealth to enjoy my remaining years and make decisions about final distribution based on our children's demonstrated maturity and financial responsibility over time. During the first year after Martha's death, I maintained my independence in our family home while adjusting to widowed life and managing my grief through continued involvement in community activities, volunteer work, and regular social contacts that helped me maintain emotional stability and physical health despite the challenges of living alone for the first time in nearly 4 decades. Amanda's behavior during this adjustment period became increasingly concerning as her visits and phone calls focused more on my financial management and less on my emotional well-being, with frequent suggestions that I should consider downsizing my living arrangements or making early inheritance distribution that would help her address her mounting financial problems while ensuring that my assets were properly protected and managed. Robert and Susan's approach to my widowhood was more appropriate and supportive, with regular visits that focused on my emotional needs and practical assistance with household maintenance and social activities, while avoiding pressure about financial decisions or inheritance planning that might create stress or undermine my autonomy and independence during my adjustment period. The first major red flag about Amanda's intentions occurred 8 months after Martha's death, when I discovered that she had been secretly researching the value of my house and investments by contacting real estate agents and financial advisors to gather information about my net worth and the potential inheritance value that would be available if I were to die or become incapacitated and unable to manage my own affairs. Amanda's research activities included detailed inquiries about nursing home costs and long-term care insurance options, along with questions about legal procedures for obtaining guardianship or power of attorney over elderly parents who might be experiencing cognitive decline or physical limitations that would justify family intervention in their financial management and living arrangements. The discovery of Amanda's covert financial research was disturbing and revealed that she was actively planning for my incapacitation or death, rather than focusing on maintaining our family relationship or supporting my continued independence and well-being as a widower who was successfully managing his own affairs and maintaining good physical and mental health. My investigation into Amanda's financial situation revealed the true motivation behind her sudden interest in my assets and her research into nursing home placement options, as I discovered that she had accumulated over $80,000 in credit card debt, had defaulted on multiple business loans, and was facing potential bankruptcy unless she could access substantial funds to address her financial obligations and maintain her current lifestyle. Amanda's debt problems included unpaid bills for luxury vacations, expensive clothing and jewelry purchases, lease payments on a luxury car that was beyond her means, and failed investments in various get-rich-quick schemes and business ventures that had promised unrealistic returns, but had resulted in significant losses that had compounded her financial difficulties over several years. The contrast between Amanda's financial irresponsibility and the careful saving and investing that Martha and I had practiced throughout our marriage was stark and disappointing, as it revealed that our efforts to teach our children about financial discipline and planning had failed to influence Amanda's approach to money management and long-term financial security. Robert and Susan's financial situations were much more stable and responsible, with both of them maintaining emergency savings, making regular retirement contributions, and living within their means while building equity in their homes and making progress toward long-term financial goals that reflected the values and planning strategies that Martha and I had modeled throughout their upbringing. The realization that Amanda viewed my assets as the solution to her financial problems, rather than as the result of decades of hard work and careful planning that I had earned the right to control and enjoy during my remaining years, was profoundly disappointing, and led me to begin reconsidering my estate planning and inheritance distribution to ensure that my wealth would benefit people who demonstrated appropriate values and responsibility. 6 months ago, I secretly consulted with my attorney about revising my estate plan to redirect my assets away from Amanda and toward charitable organizations that would use my wealth responsibly and beneficially, while still providing modest inheritances to Robert and Susan, who had demonstrated appropriate family loyalty and financial responsibility throughout their adult lives. The new estate plan included substantial donations to the local food bank, where Martha had volunteered for 15 years, significant contributions to scholarship funds for disadvantaged students pursuing nursing and accounting careers, similar to Susan and Robert's professions, and major gifts to organizations supporting elderly independence and community services that reflected the values and causes that Martha and I had supported throughout our marriage. Amanda's inheritance under the revised estate plan was reduced to a minimal amount that would provide basic financial support, but would not solve her debt problems or enable her to continue her irresponsible spending patterns, with the understanding that larger financial gifts would only enable her poor financial habits and fail to encourage the behavioral changes necessary for her long-term financial stability. The charitable organizations selected as beneficiaries of my revised estate plan were carefully chosen based on their demonstrated effectiveness and their alignment with values that Martha and I had shared, including organizations that supported education, health care, elderly services, and community development programs that would provide lasting benefits to people who had worked hard but faced circumstances beyond their control. My attorney's guidance ensured that the revised estate plan was legally sound and would withstand any potential challenges from Amanda or other family members who might question my mental competency or my right to distribute my assets according to my own values and priorities, rather than following traditional inheritance expectations that might benefit irresponsible family members. The secret nature of my estate plan revision meant that Amanda continued her planning for nursing home placement and asset liquidation, without knowing that her inheritance prospects had been dramatically reduced, and that her efforts to gain control over my finances would ultimately result in her receiving almost nothing from my estate when I eventually passed away. Amanda's pressure for nursing home placement intensified over the past 3 months, with increasingly frequent visits and phone calls that included detailed discussions about my supposed declining health and safety concerns, that she claimed justified immediate intervention to protect me from potential accidents or emergencies that could occur while I was living alone without professional supervision and medical support. Her arguments for nursing home placement included exaggerated claims about my physical limitations and mental confusion that were completely contrary to my actual health status and cognitive abilities, which remained excellent despite my 68 years, and the normal aging process that had not significantly impacted my independence or my ability to manage my own affairs safely and effectively. Amanda's manipulation tactics included bringing printed materials about nursing home facilities and long-term care options during her visits, along with emotional appeals about her concerns for my safety and her desire to ensure that I received appropriate care and support during my remaining years, though her real motivation was clearly focused on gaining access to my assets rather than genuine concern for my well-being. The most disturbing aspect of Amanda's nursing home campaign was her willingness to lie about my health and capabilities to other family members and friends, spreading false information about supposed incidents of confusion or physical problems that had never occurred, but were designed to build support for her position that I needed immediate placement in professional care for my own protection and safety. Robert and Susan's responses to Amanda's claims about my declining health were appropriately skeptical, as they had maintained regular contact with me and could see that my physical and mental condition remained excellent, leading them to question Amanda's motivations and to express concern that she might be exaggerating problems that didn't actually exist for purposes unrelated to my genuine well-being. The family tensions created by Amanda's nursing home campaign reached a crisis point when she began contacting medical professionals and social services agencies to inquire about procedures for involuntary placement of elderly individuals whose families believed they were no longer capable of living independently, revealing the extent of her determination to override my autonomy and force me into institutional care against my will. My discovery of Amanda's contacts with authorities about involuntary placement procedures was the final confirmation that she was willing to use extreme measures to gain control over my assets, including potentially fabricating evidence of incompetency or safety concerns that could result in court-ordered guardianship and loss of my legal rights to make my own decisions about my living arrangements and financial management. The confrontation that would reveal Amanda's true motivations and my estate plan changes was triggered by her ultimatum phone call last Monday morning, when she informed me that she had scheduled nursing home tour for this week and expected me to cooperate with immediate placement procedures that would allow her to begin liquidating my assets to pay for long-term care expenses and address what she characterized as my urgent safety needs. Amanda's ultimatum included detailed timelines for selling my house and transferring my investments to accounts that she would manage on my behalf, along with legal documents that she had prepared for my signature that would give her power of attorney and financial control over all my assets and decision-making authority regarding my care and living arrangements. My response to Amanda's ultimatum was an invitation for her to visit my house that afternoon for a detailed discussion about my financial situation and my estate planning decisions, with the promise that she would learn important information about her inheritance prospects and my plans for asset distribution that would address her concerns about my financial management and long-term care funding. Amanda's immediate acceptance of my invitation revealed her eagerness to begin the process of gaining control over my finances, and she arrived at my house that afternoon carrying additional nursing home brochures and legal documents, while expressing confidence that I would finally accept her guidance and agree to the placement and asset transfer procedures that she had planned for my supposed benefit and protection. The revelation meeting began with my presentation of my current financial statements and asset valuations that demonstrated the substantial wealth that Martha and I had accumulated through decades of careful planning and investment, including detailed documentation of my house value, investment portfolio balances, and income sources that totaled significantly more than Amanda had estimated in her inheritance calculations. Amanda's reaction to the comprehensive financial information was excitement and satisfaction as she calculated her anticipated inheritance share and began discussing her plans for using the money to pay off her debts and improve her lifestyle, revealing her complete focus on personal financial gain rather than any genuine concern about my care or well-being during my remaining years. My next presentation included documentation of my excellent health status and cognitive abilities, including recent medical examination results that confirmed my physical and mental capacity to continue living independently and managing my own affairs without any need for professional supervision or institutional care, directly contradicting all of Amanda's claims about my supposed declining condition and safety concerns. The medical documentation clearly demonstrated that Amanda's arguments for nursing home placement were based on false premises and manipulative exaggerations rather than legitimate health concerns, revealing that her campaign for institutional placement was motivated entirely by her desire to gain control over my assets rather than any genuine need for professional care or supervision. Amanda's attempts to dismiss the medical evidence and maintain her arguments for nursing home placement became increasingly desperate and illogical, as she realized that her justifications for asset control were being systematically debunked, and that her inheritance plans might be threatened by evidence of her manipulative and deceptive behavior toward her father. The final revelation was my presentation of the revised estate plan documents that showed the redirection of my assets to charitable organizations and the dramatic reduction in Amanda's inheritance to a minimal amount that would not solve her debt problems or provide the financial windfall she had been anticipating through my death or incapacitation. Amanda's reaction to the estate plan revelation was immediate shock and panic, as she realized that her elaborate planning for nursing home placement and asset liquidation would result in no financial benefit for her, and that her inheritance would be insufficient to address her mounting debt problems or maintain her preferred lifestyle after my eventual death. The estate planning documents clearly showed that the majority of my wealth would benefit organizations that demonstrated responsible stewardship and would use my assets to help people who had worked hard but faced circumstances beyond their control, rather than enabling irresponsible spending and debt accumulation by family members who had failed to demonstrate appropriate financial discipline. Amanda's desperate attempts to convince me to revise the estate plan back to her favor included emotional appeals, accusations of unfairness, and threats of legal action that revealed her true character, and confirmed that my decision to redirect my assets away from her had been appropriate and necessary to ensure responsible use of my life's work and financial accomplishments. My explanation of the estate plan changes included detailed documentation of Amanda's financial irresponsibility, her manipulative behavior regarding nursing home placement, and her complete lack of genuine concern for my well-being, all of which demonstrated that she was unsuitable to inherit substantial wealth that would likely be wasted through continued poor financial decisions and irresponsible spending. The revelation meeting concluded with my clear statement that Amanda's inheritance would remain minimal unless she demonstrated significant behavioral changes and financial responsibility over an extended period, and that any further attempts to manipulate me or force unwanted changes to my living arrangements would result in complete elimination of her inheritance and potential legal action to protect my rights and autonomy. Amanda's response to my ultimatum included anger, accusations of cruelty and unfairness, and threats to contest the estate plan through legal proceedings that would challenge my mental competency and my right to distribute my assets according to my own values and priorities, rather than traditional family inheritance expectations that she believed entitled her to substantial wealth regardless of her behavior or demonstrated responsibility. The immediate aftermath of the estate plan revelation included Amanda's continued attempts to pressure me into changing my inheritance decisions through emotional manipulation and family pressure tactics, though her efforts were undermined by Robert and Susan's support for my right to make my own financial decisions, and their recognition that Amanda's behavior had been inappropriate and manipulative. Robert and Susan's reactions to learning about Amanda's nursing home manipulation and her debt-motivated inheritance planning were disappointment and embarrassment about their sister's behavior, along with explicit support for my decision to redirect my assets toward charitable causes that would provide more beneficial and responsible use of my accumulated wealth. The legal protections built into my revised estate plan ensure that Amanda cannot successfully challenge my asset distribution decisions through competency claims or other legal procedures, as my attorney has documented my excellent mental and physical condition, and my clear understanding of my financial decisions, and their implications for my family relationships and inheritance distribution. Amanda's financial situation continues to deteriorate as her debt obligations accumulate interest and penalties, while her inheritance prospects have been dramatically reduced, creating mounting pressure for her to address her spending problems and financial irresponsibility through her own efforts rather than depending on inherited wealth to solve problems created by her poor decision-making. The charitable organizations that will benefit from my estate plan have been notified of their future inheritance and have expressed gratitude for my planned contributions that will enable them to expand their services and help more people in need, providing me with satisfaction that my life's work will continue to benefit the community long after my death. My continued independence in my own home has been reinforced by the estate plan revelation, as Amanda's motivation for forcing nursing home placement has been eliminated, and she no longer has financial incentives to manipulate my living arrangements or interfere with my autonomy and self-determination during my remaining years. The family dynamics following the estate plan revelation have been permanently altered, with Amanda's relationship with me becoming distant and strained, while Robert and Susan's relationships have been strengthened through their support for my decision-making autonomy and their demonstrated maturity in accepting my right to distribute my assets according to my own values and priorities. Today, 6 months after the estate plan revelation, I continue to live independently in my own home while maintaining excellent health and cognitive abilities that completely contradict Amanda's false claims about my need for professional care or supervision, demonstrating that her nursing home campaign was based entirely on manipulation and greed rather than legitimate concerns about my well-being. Amanda's attempts to rebuild our relationship have been half-hearted and clearly motivated by her continued hope that she might convince me to restore her inheritance, rather than genuine remorse for her manipulative behavior or appreciation for my right to make my own decisions about my assets and living arrangements without family interference or pressure. The peace of mind that comes from knowing my assets will benefit worthy charitable causes, rather than enabling continued financial irresponsibility, has enhanced my enjoyment of my remaining years, and my satisfaction with the financial planning and wealth accumulation that Martha and I achieved through decades of hard work and careful decision-making. My experience with Amanda's manipulation and greed has reinforced my commitment to maintaining my independence and autonomy for as long as possible, while ensuring that my estate planning reflects my values and priorities, rather than the expectations or demands of family members who may not demonstrate appropriate responsibility or genuine concern for my well-being. If you like this story, please like this video. Subscribe to the channel and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left.